Hey there, everyone. Quick college basketball update for Friday. I'm not doing the other sports in this video. It's also not going to be a very long video, but I do want to thank Daryl for purchasing today and getting me on this and getting this thing done before the early games today. That's what happens when somebody pays. I have to do it. So then you end up getting a video and you get the pick. So let's talk about today. We did have an amazing comeback last night. I called UT Martin losing last night before I finished the video because there was like a few minutes left and they were down by 7. They, of course, came back to win. So that was really good for us yesterday. Yeah, it's funny. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, yesterday turned out to be even better day than I thought. Yeah, UT Martin wins, Pacific wins. So 3 out of those 4 games I told you to play yesterday won, and 3 of those were the 3 underdogs actually won as well. So that works out well. So let's talk about how you read this sheet and what the picks are going to be for today. All right. Don't know whose natural home games or not. Let's assume that they are all tournament games. I'm actually going to glance at my phone to know, but we'll assume that home and away don't really mean anything and that these are all tournament games because I'm pretty sure almost all of them are. I'm glancing real quick just to see. Yeah, there's a word like Ingles, SoCon Championship, Hercules, Tires, Big South Championship. Those games, not every one of them. Kent State looks to be at home. Ball State looks to be at home. Tulane looks to be at home. St. Louis, Buffalo, Western Michigan, Sam Houston, Utah Valley, Northern Illinois, Ohio, Southern Utah, Utah Tech. So yeah, so it's really mixed. Colorado State is actually home. All right. Kind of need to go game by game when we do that, but let's first do our filters, right? Like, how do we get this right? Are there any teams that are under 90% health? The answer is no. All the teams are healthy. Just a couple 98% with New Mexico and with Tulane. Going up against injured teams, however, let's do that little filter first because you do like to have to go up against teams that are injured. So we want less than teams that have an opponent's health that's less than 0.9. You're going to get a few games where teams are injured as the opponent. So East Carolina, UT Arlington, St. Louis, and Central Michigan are all injured. These lines are not that bad for Western Michigan and Dayton. And that game is actually in St. Louis, though. So that is not a tournament game, if I remember correctly, as I was browsing. I believe that is a home game for St. Louis. It'll tell me, I think so. And I don't want to get too into the weeds here. Yeah, that game's a home game for St. Louis. So be careful with Dayton because this is only a 3% margin. They're not actually home. So it's really not Dayton. It's Western Michigan, pretty much for sure here. Margin's low, and the line's not great, but that's probably a win. And they should be actually at home. Oh man, do we have to do this for every game? This is why you really get rewarded for doing the research. Because if it's a true home game, which it is, okay, this is a true home game. And the Seattle game, I believe, is also a true home game, but your lines are starting to get bad here. So I think Western Michigan goes on the list as a probable winner there. But let's take a look at how we look by line value, all right, which is how we found the picks yesterday. So line values comparing the algorithm's implied line, or what the algorithm thinks should be the line for the game, to what the line actually is that the odds makers are offered. And our implied lines are pretty good because we have a good idea of who's probably going to win the games based on all our stats and everything. So those line values, I say you can play the ones all the way to -50. There are a few, or more than a few. So there are 19 of them. And that goes down to here. And you really need to check to see which of these games are actually true home games. And I don't know. I'm not going to go through every one of them. But we'll glance. Look at these very reasonable lines. You could try just clicking the home button because these teams can't possibly be away. It might be a neutral site game, but they can't be away if they have the home next to them. So that's possible. How many of those have a line value under 50, -50? Look at all these value picks here. This is crazy. There's so many value picks because these are neutral site games, that's for sure. So, all right, well, digging in, man, we'll look at both for a second. digging in now. We're gonna look at home. I'm not doing an extensive job on the away games, because I just don't know if they're away and I don't want to focus on it for this video. Lines are anyway. So let's go with the home games to find our picks. Missouri, Kansas City against Omaha. 4% margin. So I got asked today about the power, or about why lines are kind of good for certain teams. And what I've noticed is the lines will be better for these teams when their power is weak, meaning they're not a very good team that doesn't win all that much. So that's why you see kind of reasonable lines here for Missouri, Kansas City, for Hampton. Yeah, because Hampton especially is a 15% team. So even though this line is good, and even though they're home, they have a worse strength of schedule, and they also stink as a team. So you don't want to end up betting a lot on teams that are bad teams to begin with. So when you do bad team versus bad team rule, well, a bad team wins. That's what happens when it's bad team versus bad team rule. So this is not a great pick because their power is so low. I used to say the cutoff is about 30%. Like you want a team with above 30%. So this Missouri Kansas City game with a worse strength of schedule, even though it's even money, it's not a very good pick. It's a low margin and a bad team. So I don't want to recommend that because there are too many reasons not to play it. Now we're starting to get into something you can play. Radford over Winthrop. Radford is a 42% team. It's probably a neutral site game. I want to check. It's probably a neutral site game. Where is this game? The Hampton game is a neutral site game, by the way. I just saw that. Charleston is playing UNC Asheville right now. Well, these games started early. I'm just Winthrop and Radford is a neutral site game, tournament game. So they're not really home. That's why I want to look at everybody, right? Because they're all like this. New Mexico away. This is a true home game for Colorado State. So that's trouble. Martin again. Tennessee Martin minus 118 against Tennessee Tech. This is definitely going to be a tournament game. So they're not really away. So that's possible, actually. Martin could do it for us again. Toledo and Ball State. That game is in Ball State. So this was not tournament. So that's a true away team. So watch out for that. Hampton, we said they're too weak probably to take. Radford looked good. Okay, Radford looks good here. They're good enough, and the line's pretty good. Morehead State also looks pretty good, and that's probably a tournament game. As I said, I wasn't going to look them up and end up looking them all up. Morehead State is a tournament game, but they do have a 7% margin. They're only minus 140. So these two are okay. Sam Houston's minus 330, but they're probably going to win. That's a 21% margin. So you're talking about winners. It's a bad line here, but they're probably going to win. Get these three. Dayton, we said, is actually away, and they're only 3% margin, so we'll stay away from that. Indiana State is, what is that game? Is that game away or not? Indiana State, that's a tournament game. So this is not a true away game. They only have a 4% margin, but they're an okay team. This is possible, but it's not a great pick. These three are better. Okay, so yeah, maybe Indiana State, maybe not. Longwood and Campbell. The line's not great, but Longwood's probably gonna win. Then you've got an injured Missouri State and a Southern Illinois favored by 4. So this is possible as well. That's probably a tournament game. Mercer over Citadel. There's actually a lot on here in these minus 200 area lines. Southern Utah over Cal Baptist. This is probably not a tournament game. Stay away from that. We'll stop it about here. These are pretty good. Southern Utah, Mercer, Southern Illinois, Longwood. Yeah, it's 13% margin. Longwood, Sam Houston State, Morehead State, and Radford. So I'm gonna throw a round robin together with these guys. You know, that's the curse of death, but that's what I'm gonna do. See anything else with big margins and good lines? Not really. So that's 7. Yeah, that's 7. And you can see that we're taking advantage of some injuries with Missouri State and Citadel. We're taking these guys. We're taking some kind of bad lines with Southern Utah and with Mercer and with Longwood and with Sam Houston State. But they're really supposed to win. Some of these are true home games, I think, but a lot of them are tournament games. There's no way we can really avoid it. But of those 7, of these 7, you should go like 6-1 here. You should go 5-2 at the worst, and you should probably go about 6-1, losing something like maybe Longwood or Morehead State or something. Like you're probably going to go 6-1, and that would win on a round robin. I would expect between 5-2 and 7-0. And so those are the ones that I'll go with. And also another way to look at this at the very end, if you're doing the bet in both sides strategy, the closest games, let's get a margin. Closest games pop up down here. So a lot of these games are probably going to have lead changes or something like that. All right. So good luck, everyone. My stomach is growling. It's time to eat. All right. Good luck. May all your picks be winning. And I don't think I'm going to be back for a hockey and NBA video later today, unless somebody buys them. You go buy them, I'll do them, and then I'll have to do them. I'll do hockey anyway. But NBA after the 0-4 yesterday. Yeah, in NBA. We could do some work on NBA. All right, good luck, everybody. May all your picks be winning. Enjoy your college basketball. We're getting close to March Madness. Get ready for those videos. They're coming soon.